Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to get started. It is about 6:02 and welcome to our new Caregiver Orientation, which will be done virtually this year, hopefully live next year. So thank you all for joining us. We have about 219 families on the call, and I'm sure we'll be adding some more as we continue through the evening. Next slide, Mr. Marino. Thank you. So welcome. We have a cast, I'm not going to say a cast of characters, but a cast of fabulous administrators and staff that will be with us this evening, and they're labeled here, and you more than likely can see them on side of your screen. But the first person to speak is myself, followed by Principal Donnelly. So we can do the next slide. Okay. What I will talk a little bit about is our mission. As many of you know, we have some repeat students coming, or repeat families coming on board, and we believe that that's because we do an exceptional job of living our mission. So the mission of our school is to create a culture of academic and technical excellence, to encourage continuous intellectual growth and promote professionalism, determination, and citizenship for all students as they develop into the architects, artisans, and authors of the 21st century. And we live by that mission. You'll see it on everything that we do. It is on the back of our business cards. It is often in letters or emails. It is plastered on the walls of our school. And we believe that the four characters within there is create, encourage, promote, and develop. So we make sure that our students are prepared, we say, for the workforce, because we believe that although many of them may attend either an apprenticeship program, a post-secondary option, or college, really they need to be prepared for life. So we believe here at Essex North Shore that our teachers, whether they're technical and agricultural teachers, academic teachers, support staff, school counselors, or our administrative team, including our bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, all live this mission. I know many of you we have already met via Zoom and many other Zoom calls, so we can leave it open if there are questions at the end, but I'm going to pass it over, I believe, to Principal Donnelly at this time.
Can you give Principal Donnelly just a minute to join back in? We lost power here at the school, so she's just rejoining.
Okay, and we also have Dr. O'Toole. So Dr. O'Toole is the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. Is Dr. O'Toole on? Excellent. Murphy's Law is I hear that Essex North Shore lost power and phone lines due to the storm. So we apologize if there are some individuals that have to relog back on. I ironically did not have to log back on, although I do live near the shore. So
yeah, so it looks like we lost Dr. O'Toole as well.
Fabulous. Well, we can actually, I can discuss curriculum and instruction. So if you just want to move to the next slide.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so as you know, many of you were on the call last week, and we thank all of you who stayed on the call for quite some time, but we have decided to opt for the hybrid learning model. And what that means in the hybrid learning model is that it will be half in person and half learning remotely. One of the questions that came up last week was whether or not you could provide a schedule, or we could provide a schedule for you to make it a little bit easier to read on what days your child will be in attendance. And we did send that out last week in your family memo. So if you didn't get that, please let us know. We may have your inaccurate email. So we'll certainly get that to you. So every other day, we will provide students with structure and accountability to maximize learning. We did choose this option. There were a variety of different options that we could have chosen. We actually developed 3 different hybrid models, and we sent that out to staff members to determine what they preferred as well. But we did believe that having live academic instruction was equally as important as having live CTE or career and technical education instruction. We also believe that the social and emotional aspects of student learning is critical. We have a fabulous support staff. And I believe Sue Stevens is on the call, who's the Director of Special Education, Sandy Goldstein, who is our Director of School Counseling, among others. But we do believe that the social emotional aspects of our children is critical. So having that hybrid learning model kind of fits that. And we hope that we're able to maintain the hybrid learning model, particularly as the state improves with a reduction in COVID cases, and obviously making sure that we're following the practices and protocols that we have put into place through policy. Next slide. So as you see, the hybrid learning model schedule, again, this was reviewed last week, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what you will see is we have a Wednesday through Tuesday school model day anyway. So even before pre-COVID, we say, our model was a Wednesday through Tuesday because we really believed that, and research believes that students are most successful when they have academic weekly. So a traditional vocational school will have it every other week. So 1 week of academics, 1 week of technical and agricultural. We did choose to split that schedule. So our day actually starts on Wednesday. Okay, so on Wednesday, the 9th graders will be on campus in academics on day 1 and day 3, and then remote on day 2, 3, and 5. And then the next following week, or cycle we call it, because it may be easier for you to think about it as cycle. If you are an upperclassman, you would just follow that same schedule. So if on that Wednesday, the 11th graders will start in remote academics, and then throughout that week, they'll be in academics. Grade 10 will actually be in remote CTE on the academic cycle, and then on campus on that Thursday. I understand that a lot of people were wondering why we chose the every other day model instead of doing it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. What we found in the remote learning model last year is that, and I think you know as families and parents, is that sometimes getting students to that structure or that lack of structure was challenging for a child. So we opted for that every other day model so that they had somebody live in person to be with, and then somebody on the next day remote. Next slide. Thank you. So then you'll see that following week. Oh, here's Miss Donnelly. You'll see the following week, day 6. So that's that second cycle. It's a green day, and the 9th graders will be on campus for their CTE. Miss Skane, who is the supervisor of freshmen, will be reviewing what exploratory is. And then again, the 11th graders are remote in CTE on that day, and then the 10th graders are remote in academics. And then as you see that next Thursday, or day 7, we flip it. Next slide. Ms. Donnelly, did you want to take this over?
I'm actually going to let Dr. O'Toole take it over. I apologize for my technical difficulties. And Dr. O'Toole is going to take these next curriculum slides.
You know, I'm back. Sorry, so I blinked out a little bit. I lost my internet connection, but I'm back now. So I'm Tom O'Toole, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And the academic classes for freshmen, we generally have grade 9 English. A lot of the classes similar to what you had when you went to high school. Grade 9 English, World History, Algebra 1. We do have a second track for students that want to get to calculus by senior year, and they begin in geometry because they've done algebra in 8th grade. Biology 1 and either Spanish 1 or other targeted academic support classes. We have 3 levels: college prep, accelerated college prep, and honors level. And then eventually by 10th grade for bio, and then later we offer AP advanced placement classes. All of our courses are based on the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. They're standards based. And there's a focus, especially for 9th grade, on the transition from to high school. So they make a big sort of gain cognitively as they move from sort of concrete to formal operations. And the bottom line is that we are there to help them write bigger, fuller, better paragraphs and to think with multiple variables. There will also be additional support classes through Title I Reading and Title I Math as well. And I've generally been in touch with parents and caregivers if we were considering their child or student for those classes. And then for new parents who are coming in as sophomores or juniors, just to show you the full arc for the next 2 grades, English 10 and then English 11, we also offer in 11th grade AP English Language, US History 1 and US History 2 or AP US History, Geometry or Algebra 2 for those on the calculus track in 10th grade, and then the same thing on Algebra 2 for 11th grade or the pre-calculus for those on the calculus track. And then Biology 2 or AP Bio. So that's the big difference, is that we do offer a 10th grade AP course and it's AP Biology. And then a series of electives. Students that opt to want to take Spanish 2 can. It is a semester-based course. It's intensive, sort of hybrid and remote at the same time. And then Title I Reading and Math continue for 1 more year for those students that still continue to need those supports. We offer a class called US Government and Politics, that otherwise known as Civics, which has been a big push by the state, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, to promote civic education in our public schools, and then financial literacy. And then on the grade 11 side, we have a series of science electives, either chemistry, forensics, or physics. We've discovered it's important for students to have choice in that area. We offer a series of additional electives as well. And then in terms of freshman year and then the years beyond, sophomore and junior year, this coming year for freshmen, for semester 1, we're offering a health class, which will focus on the promotion of habits and conduct that enhance health and wellness and guide efforts to build healthy families, relationships, schools, and communities. And then for those students in semester 1 entering sophomore and junior year, we're offering a course called Career Enhancement, which examines, again, professional workplace behavior and the important steps necessary for preparing for the workplace. That's part of our mission that Dr. Riccio mentioned. And students learn the job search process, interview skills, effective workplace communication, resume and cover letter writing, and developing a professional work ethic. On that note, I'm going to hand off to our 2 assistant principals, Jen Skane and Joel Spruance.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joel Spruance, the West Academy assistant principal. It's good to meet you all electronically. We're just going to go through a few slides about student life. So some of the sections we'll cover tonight, we'll deal with dress code, attendance, school day, behavior management, and social media. So the first up is dress code. You can see on the picture on your left that is what we use as a guide for the dress code. We tell students that they don't need to buy identical outfits to that unless they would like to. But an outfit does need to have straps, and you can see the other tenets of that policy. On the right, you'll see some of the more specifics of our dress code. Hooded sweatshirts are allowed during the academic cycle. However, we don't want the hoods to cover heads. And along those same lines, we don't allow hats inside the building. You know, the goal of this is to promote and train professionalism in the workplace. So that is the goal of our dress code, is everything points in that direction towards preparing the future workforce. You can see that face coverings are obviously required for this year. And in CTE, as far as the program specific dress code, we have a sort of section called Dress for Success that you'll get further information on in the orientation folders. Attendance. So if your child is going to be absent, we ask that you call in the morning to report that absence to the absence line. For excused absences due to illness, so that can be documented by a doctor's note, or for this year by a parent note. And you can see the other instances where excused absences are allowed. As far as the number that we use, students may not miss more than 10 days during the school year. So that limit is 5 days per semester. And again, those are for unexcused absences. So the limit for the school year is 10 days unexcused. Students who arrive late to school will come through the main entrance, and we do have a tardy desk there. And students who accrue more than 4 tardies in a semester will have some consequences associated with that. Dismissals are done with a written note, so students can turn that in the morning at the tardy desk or down in the assistant principal's office. The school day runs between 7:50 and 2:27 p.m. So students that arrive after that 7:50 will be coming in through the main entrance to check in at the tardy desk. And as far as for participation, provided that there are any after-school activities or sports, a student must be, and in order to be considered present for the day, they need to be there for 3 hours of the school day.
Good evening. So my name is Jennifer Skane, and I'm the assistant principal for the East Academy and the freshman students whose last names begin with the letters A through K. So when we think of our behavior management, we think of this as a team approach. Our goal is obviously to improve the behavior that is happening in the school or the classrooms and increase communication skills. One of the ways that we do this is through an approach called collaborative problem solving. We partnered with Mass General Hospital a few years ago, and probably 70% of our staff is trained on collaborative problem solving, and it is a approach of how you address and work with students. When we talk about the team, we wanted to point out who our team is, and that is the assistant principals, the CTE directors. We have a program for students that are struggling with behaviors in the classroom, and that's called SOAR, or Success Through Ownership, Accountability, and Responsibility. We have a wonderful SRO who is an addition to our staff, and his name is Officer Chase. The teachers, and essentially the most important part of our team is you, the parents. So we really look at behavior from a team approach. Social media. So oftentimes, I'd say probably 70–80% of the time when Mr. Spruance and I experience challenges between students, they have, the root of it is typically social media. So I want to highlight our responsible use policy and the fact that we encourage students to not take photographs of other students in classes and post them to social media. We encourage them not to post inappropriate messages on social media. The unfortunate piece is, and I don't know that students always can think this far in advance, and that's where parents really can be helpful and supportive for us, is that colleges and employers do check social media. And we have been aware of situations where students have had championship awards that have been granted, reneged, or taken away. Students who have had opportunities to attend colleges have seen that they have had their college experiences, they've taken away their acceptances. And the other thing is that we try to tell students all the time that other students will gladly bring us that information as printed evidence of what's happening. So please make sure that you help us out and monitor your child's social media pages. Students do have the ability to use their phones respectfully and responsibly in the halls and cafeterias between classes. So we try to encourage students to think of their cell phone as a tool, and we hope that you will help us encourage that as well. We do ask parents not to text their kids during the day. A lot of times when kids come to us and they get told, your cell phone got taken away. Why? Well, my mom called, or my dad called, or somebody called from home. If you need to get a message to a student, by all means, we can help facilitate that. It's best to not have you texting them during the day. So transportation. For those of you who have elected to or will elect to on any given day of the school year drop off or pick up your student rather than utilizing the school transportation. We ask that you try to do that as close to 7:40 as possible, especially during these times of COVID, because that will help us to support where students are going and not having too much time before they can get into their classrooms. And that is done in the rear of the building. You will notice when you drive onto our campus that there are signs as you enter campus from 2 o'clock till 2:45. We have a very specific entrance and exiting pattern. And we do not allow people to take a left-hand turn to come in front of the building. You can only go around to the rear of the building, and that's where parent pickup and student pickup and drop off is. Please do not try to pick your kid up across the street or over by Angel Animal Hospital, as these are significant safety concerns for students. We do offer late buses. If there's going to be athletic programs, then those students can elect to take the 5:45 p.m. bus, and we will educate the students when they get here how to use their Chromebook or their iPad to sign up for that, and they have to do it by 9 a.m. Parents can't sign up. It is something that they have to do while they are here on our network. Our transportation director, Kathy Russo, has stated that she is going to do everything in her possibility to get the routes out to families by early next week. And those are going to be emailed to families, but you can also, it's a great resource right on our webpage to look at the transportation page, and they are all listed there. If you find that you are having bus concerns or you ever have any questions, I can assure you that Kathy Russo is wonderful at reaching out and supporting parents and students with their bus transportation needs. So orientation is going to be held on September 15th. I always used to say to my kids on the first day of school, so where's my homework? And that is, what do I need to know? Where are the papers that I have to fill out? So on the first day that your students come home from orientation, they will have a folder, a white folder. Everything on the left side of that folder is going to be for your student, and everything on the right side of that folder will be for you as a parent. So when they come home, feel free to grab that stuff on the right-hand side and review it. It's essential information that you will need to be successful here at the school. And the stuff on the left-hand side, we ask that you leave that in there and support your student and encourage them to bring that folder with them every single day to school, especially during career discovery and exploratory, as the teachers use that as an essential organization tool for the kids. Orientation is going to be held on Tuesday, September 15th. Buses will pick up at regular times and stops, so the students will have access to their bus. What I would say is that essentially on orientation day, but also the first week to 2 weeks of school, please be a little bit flexible with the stops. I would say always to arrive at your stop at least 10 minutes early. And on the orientation day, keep in mind that not every student and every stop will be followed that day, so flexibility would be great. If you are going to drop off or pick up your student, that is going to be in the rear gymnasium parking lot. It's a comfortable day, but they will be photographed. So, you know, I would invite them. They will be doing some activities in the classroom in very small groups, but they will have an opportunity to be photographed for their ID. So they can be comfortable and cute at the same time.
All right, so my name is Don Dusham, and I am the CTE Director for the East Academy. Also speaking after me will be Miss Jill Sawyer, the CTE Director for the West Academy, and then we'll have Miss Lisa Berube, the Co-op Coordinator. So our academies are set up in that we have separated out the East Academy, which encompasses the agricultural programs, and the manufacturing, engineering, and technology programs. Those are the programs that I oversee. On the West Academy, we have construction-related programs, health service programs, and customer service programs as well. So the first 2 CTE cycles that the students go through will go from September 23rd to October 12th. And during that time with holidays and such, there are actually 8 days that are in those 2 weeks. 5 of those days will be days that the students are on campus. That will give them the opportunity to go through all 24 programs for one block. During their remote days, they're going to get an additional half a block in each of those program areas. Now, the career discovery is a quick snippet about, an hour block and then another half an hour, half block online. And the teachers are just going to give a very broad overview of what their programs are about, what the career pathways are, how the job outlook is for those careers, cooperative education opportunities, and then also post-secondary opportunities, whether that's college or unions and continuing ed options. From there, once they're done with their career discovery, they will rank order all of their programs, and we will really quickly, in a week's time, try to get those students into their top 7 programs that they pick. And that will be when they go into their exploratory program. Next slide, Mr. There we go. So during the exploratory program, they'll go through their 7 programs that they get, and that will start on October 21st. The 7 cycles will take us into the late January, early February timeframe, and that's when they'll be picking their program for the next 3.5 years. So each of these exploratory cycles is a full cycle, and just coincidentally, it happens that they're all 5 days this year, unless we happen to get some early snowstorms, but that's another story altogether. So this full cycle is all day long, except for their health or wellness period that they'll be in the program area. So it's a big chunk of time so that the students can get deeper into the curriculum of the programs. And pretty much every program will do a hands-on project during that week. And some of them even get things that they can take home as well. Next slide, please. So all of these exploratory programs are graded the same way so that it's fair across the board, so that as we come to selection time, all of the students has been graded in the same way. 40% of that is their weekly assessment for workmanship, production, safety, career awareness, and professionalism and employability. 20% is the performance assessment, 20% is the written assessment, and then a real important aspect is the 20% reflection and journal entry. And this allows, as it states, for the students to reflect upon the week that they had in the program. And that's really important come January when they're trying to remember what they did back in October, and to see whether they, had what were their likes and dislikes and reasons why they would pick the programs that they're looking for. And next slide is off to Miss Sawyer.
Helps if I unmute first. Hi, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about safety. So as you enter our school, whether you're a 9th grader or an upper class student, safety is very important in all of our CTE programs. So we follow the OSHA standards. Each program has specific safety guidelines. So as your student is going through exploratory, career discovery, and then when they choose their CTE program, that will be a really important aspect of their learning that they do in their program is the safety. And the reason why is students are trained on live equipment. They're working with live people, they're working with animals. So it's really important that everybody stays safe. And I think you would be, feel pretty much the same that, your child's safety is our main concern. I don't want to send a student home with any lost limbs by the end of their senior year. And so as they're going through the exploratory, obviously they won't have uniforms. The uniforms are given out, or you have uniforms once you go into your CTU program, but it's really important to note that no open-toe shoes or flip-flops can be worn in any CTE program. No stretch pants or torn jeans, no hoodies, and no headphones unless needed for the program. So that's really important for students. I know in the warmer months you want to wear those flip-flops, and that's fine to maybe to come into school, but they really need to have closed-toed shoes for most or all of the CTE programs. So they do need to wear jeans, Dickie work boots. That doesn't mean that you need to run out tonight and go out and get work boots and work pants. It's really just making sure they have untorn pants that they're wearing into those programs. Once they get into their CTE program is where you're going to, might need to purchase the uniform or extra work boots, things like that. Safety glasses. So every student will be provided a pair of safety glasses, and it's their responsibility to make sure they hold on to those throughout their exploratory. And lastly, just safety shoes, skid resistant shoes is certainly appropriate for the exploratory. Again, as they get into their CTE program mid-year of 9th grade year, we'll go through more of the uniform and kind of expectations. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Berube for the cooperative education.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to be really quick because my work deals mostly with the juniors and seniors. So, and I know there are probably some parents of students that are transferring in. But even if for freshman parents, junior year will be here quicker than you'll realize. So something that we start talking with students about as soon as they're freshmen is cooperative education experiences, because this is one of the things that is unique to career and technical education that allows students to really get a feel for what the life would be like in the career area that they've chosen. So it's something that we talk about very early, and we start to prepare them as soon as their sophomore year with their resumes and things like that. So the criteria, so the co-op program is a work-study program. So during the students' career and technical rotation, rather than coming into school for their technical portion, they would go out to an actual job. So that can start happening halfway through their junior year if they've been in the program for 1.5 years. So students transferring in, we might have to do a little bit of math when the time comes to make sure that they've met their 1.5 years, but they can start going out halfway through the junior year. Students have to be at least 16 years of age. For many of the programs, a driver's license is not required, but recommended. In the construction programs, it's definitely recommended. And actually in the auto programs, they can't drive cars on the lots without the driver's license. So that's something that we talk to them about as well. But part of the requirements also, it starts with the approval of the CTE instructor, who can attest to the fact that they have the skill to go out into an entry-level position and be successful. They have to be meeting minimum grade requirements. Of course, they have to have parent or caregiver permission. No student can go on a co-op placement without the OSHA certificate that Ms. Sawyer talked about. Again, safety is paramount, and so having the certification gives them that little extra that they need. The required paperwork, part of that is the resume, cover letter, letter of recommendation, and then they need to be meeting the attendance standards and discipline standards that are outlined in the student handbook. Next slide. So in order for a position to qualify, it has to be directly related to the CTE program. So a culinary student needs to be going out and doing something that deals directly with the frameworks of that program. An auto tech student has to be working in that field. They can't do any crossover. It is to really solidify the frameworks that they have been working on. In order for employers to be eligible to participate, they also have to meet our requirements, which are mostly state requirements mandated. They have to agree to a background check, a query check. They have to hold workers' comp insurance. In this time of COVID, they have to be meeting or exceeding the COVID standards. They will assess the students as well and evaluate the students, and they have to allow somebody from the CTE office or the co-op office to do an initial safety check on the job and then periodic check-ins on the students. And that's the co-op program.
Hi, good evening. I'm Sandy Goldstein. I'm the Director of School Counseling here at Essex Tech. Welcome to the new class of 2024 and upper accepts. Our student supports at Essex Tech include a number of supports ranging from individual support services and developmental guidance lessons. There's an extensive list here that I will just share on the screen. Please be assured that our work with students ranges from social emotional supports through academic and career advising. Specifically for those of you who are freshmen especially and embarking on your first time at high school, we are here to support you with your transition to high school. Certainly even more so in these uncertain times. So please know that, and if we could move to the next slide. We also are here to support our families. Typically, we have on-campus parent information sessions hosted by our department for each grade, including typical years, a financial aid information evening, a college fair. Understandably, we're having to make some adjustments to how we deliver and share that information this year. So please stay tuned, but know that we are here through our guidance counseling department, our school counselors and our school adjustment counselors to support families and students with their transition to high school through their transition to post-secondary career and college opportunities. Please click to the next slide. Thanks. So the panel in front of you here on the screen includes our very professional, talented, and compassionate guidance counseling staff, as well as Ms. Larrabee, who meets and greets all of our students in our guidance suite. She is really the force behind all of us, and we are so grateful for her. She's the woman who will take many of the parent calls and make sure they get forwarded to the right location. And the next slide, please. In addition, our school adjustment counselors are available through a referral process for short-term assessment and stabilization for some higher need or higher quality services. In addition, we also, our school adjustment counselors work very closely with our special education department to support and service students with identified services on their IEPs. We work closely with our community-based providers as well and do provide as necessary crisis assessment when necessary. All right, next slide, please. Information that I'm sharing here, I believe this presentation will be shared out later, but also if you were to visit our guidance site, we update that regularly. We have not updated the parent presentation section just yet because we have a lot of to be determined, and stay tuned for that. But please do check in regularly to this site. You'll also see under departments and guidance and student services, there's information available about special education and some other areas that our department can help students and families access. Next slide. Our two school nurses, Ms. Ryan and Ms. Malloy, both RNs, are also here to provide supports, both first aid if necessary, but also ongoing continuum of services for students with medical conditions. They are, again, super professional, super compassionate, and terrific family and home community collaborators. So they will be returning into the building next week to start to get to know your students on paper. And then for those of you who may have students, children with medical conditions, please be assured as they start to review paperwork while they're back in the building, they'll be touching base with you. Next slide. In addition, our guidance staff, our school counseling staff, together under my consultation, are here to provide services under Section 504. If we have not already connected with you and we are aware that a student of ours, a child of yours, is transitioning here and has a 504 plan, please do reach out to me and we can certainly get a transition meeting scheduled. In addition, next slide, please. Our department supports any students and families who may be experiencing educational stability challenges. This may include families who become homeless, even temporarily, having to live with relatives and double up. Also, next slide, families who may, and their children who may be experiencing custody with foster care and DCF, or even temporary interventions through DCF. And the next slide, please. Also, our military families. If you are a member of the military and your child is impacted, of course, by your service, first of all, thank you very much for your service, but please do reach out to me or the guidance counselors when they're assigned so that we can offer you any proper supports as it relates to your service. And the next slide. We also want to be sure that our students and families where this applies know that as with everything we do, you've heard the word safety a number of times already from many of us. It is very much a part of our mission and our everyday behavior to ensure a safe, welcoming, nurturing environment for our students to thrive and grow. And for any students and young people, young adults who may be considering or are in the process of considering a gender transition, please do encourage them to reach out to me or their guidance counselor so that we can support them with accessing all the appropriate facilities and supports that we provide. Next slide. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Stevens. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Sue Stevens. I'm the Director of Special Education and English Language Services. Thank you for joining us tonight. At our school, we believe all students can learn at a high level, and to help support them and achieve that success, we have a comprehensive district curriculum accommodation plan. Many of our classes are co-taught, and we also communicate a lot through Aspen student and parent communication to keep you apprised of how your students are doing. Next slide, please. With regard to special ed, for incoming students, we've been diligently working with your sending districts to obtain the most current students' IEPs, and we thank you for your help with that. We have, as I said, many co-taught classes, and students receive services through an inclusion model, specialized services through the C-Grid, reading, speech, and language, services of that need. We also have a comprehensive assistive technology and instructional technology, and have an assistive technology specialist, Erin Gilmore, who is with us every Monday. And I know Mr. Marino will be sharing some information about her. And we will be having special ed parent advisory councils this meeting, hopefully in person, but I anticipate perhaps our first one will be remotely. Next slide, please. And lastly, if your student is a new English learner or a former English learner, you will be receiving the parental notification form about their program placement and supports and services at the start of the school year. That information has been sent to us from their sending school, as well as accessed through the Department of Education. And my contact information has been shared prior, but please don't hesitate to reach out to me either by phone or email if you have any questions. And I am going to pass it on to Mr. Marino, our technology director.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joseph Marino. And I'm just going to take you through a few slides regarding the technology department. Just to give you a background, put some names to faces. This is the first half of our department. It consists of myself as the director, Miss Kimberly Dixon over on the bottom left. She is our data and assessment specialist. She'll work closely with myself and Dr. O'Toole to provide relevant data about students to the administration, as well as the teachers, to make sure we're supporting people as individually as possible. Sean Coppinger is our IT systems administrator. He is likely going to be answering your help desk tickets and providing support. And we also have a new position opening up as an IT support specialist. So if you know anybody who's interested in applying, please direct them to School Spring. Page 2, we have Tammy Guerin, who is our instructional technology specialist. She's responsible for integrating technology into the curriculum and the classrooms. Erin Gilmore is our assistive technology specialist. As Sue mentioned, she will be helping students any way she can as far as their IEP goes to make sure that we are providing the best possible solution we can to meet all their needs. Kathy Kindler is the school registrar. Your students will be seeing her at the front lobby if they are ever late. Otherwise, she is responsible for all of our grades and attendance. And Debbie Campbell is joining our team this year as an administrative assistant, and we're thrilled to have her. Some information about our one-to-one device initiative. We are a Chromebook school for our grades 9 and 10 students. as we transition to fully Chromebook for all students. We have two options. You can bring your own Chromebook from anywhere that you would like. This option allows you to select a model that's best for your student, whether you think a touchscreen or a larger screen may work better for them. Provides a lot of flexibility. We don't have any particular requirements, and we don't promote any particular brand. As I said in a previous email to all of the new parents, there's a Chromebook shortage going on right now. So if you did opt for this option, please be sure to order your Chromebook as soon as you can. As far as borrowing goes, you can borrow through the school for a one-time $50 charge. That is just one time, not $50 a year. Those $50 fees will be electronically invoiced through Square sometime in September. If you're borrowing from us and there is accidental damage, that's just a $20 fee to have the damage fixed or the device replaced. You will be responsible for any intentional damage, such as throwing the Chromebook across the room or anything like that. As far as our 11th grade transfer students, those students will require iPads. We have the same options. You can borrow through the school. There's no cost for that. The only stipulation of that is that it will be returned during the summer break, but it can be taken home each night and be fully utilized. And you do have the option to bring your own iPad. Once again, that is only for grade 11 transfer students. Chromebook distribution and setup. So as I said, we are seeing a national Chromebook shortage right now, and our Chromebook orders are not expected to be delivered until at least the end of September. What we have come up with as a temporary solution is temporary devices that we'll be loaning out. So some Chromebooks from within the school or converted Chromebooks to give out until we get our slots. We are hoping to get some more information, more details about when this is going to happen. But right now it's looking like the week of September 7th. And we will have options for both the daytime and the evening so that we have options for you to make it as convenient as possible. The same thing will happen if you are bringing a Chromebook from home. We'll need to get that enrolled in our management system. So that's going to happen the same week, once again, in the daytime and evening. And we're going to have more specific information next week about those. Okay, quick overview of our website. This is the families page. You'll see the mama cow and the baby cow there forever and always because everyone loves it. But this is the families page. This provides quick links to everyday used websites. This is a good place for information and resources specific for back to school. Quick things like the bell schedule, school calendar, policies, procedures such as the new student handbook. You can get a link to the late bus signups, which Ms. Skane talked about, that students will sign up for themselves. And at the bottom of that page, there is all the information about the food service department, such as the monthly menus for breakfast and lunch, and the alternative meal request should your student require a vegetarian or gluten-free option. From that link, the first one is Aspen. We will be sending out Aspen logins to caregivers the same day as new student orientation on the 15th. You will receive yours electronically through email, but as a background, the family logins are your first name dot last name dot FAM for family, whereas the student logins are their first name dot last name. And like I said, temporary passwords will go out to you as caregivers electronically through email, and students will receive them in their packet. This is a quick snapshot of the Aspen Portal. You start off on the pages screen. This shows all the pages that the members of. Academics is where you'll be able to see their classes, their teachers, and absences. And you can see in red, it's noted current year versus previous years, as well as the current terms. So this is going to default to current term by default, but if you have different classes for semester 2, you would change that up at the top. Once you click into a specific class, you can see assignments right here, as well as grades and scores. And all of this information is available on the families page of the website. We have a wonderful family portal overview from Aspen that pretty much goes into detail about everything I just talked about and much more. This is an overview of a student schedule. So we can see our weeks are divided up into a blue week and a green week. As Dr. Riccio talked about in the beginning, I'll let you read who's in academics one. You can see down below a sample student schedule for their academic classes block by block 1 week and their CTE programs the opposite week. Okay, all of our students are provided with Google accounts for their school email and Google Drive so that they can access their Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Presentations. That will be their main tool when they're on their Chromebook. We also provide Naviance student accounts for college and career resources through the guidance office. Those usernames and passwords are provided in their freshman folders, as well as in that new student packet, you'll have the parent letter with your login information. And once again, those are 2 separate accounts. Okay, food services. We provide online payments via My School Bucks. There's a link on the website to that. I know many schools use this program with great success. We've been using it for many years and we think it's great. So that allows you to pay to load up your student's account with money so that they can pay for their lunches. It also allows you the ability to track what they're eating for meals. You need a little bit more details. Okay, social media. We are at Essex North Shore for all of our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We post about 3 times a day on all of these, and it's a good way to get details into what's happening in the school behind the scenes. We all know that sometimes when you ask your kids, what did you do today? You don't get a great answer, but with social media, you can see what's going on. And it's a great, great resource. If you subscribe to one social media account, you will get the same thing on every social media account. There won't be separate posts on different platforms. And last but not least, we also have a school app. You can find it by searching for Essex Tech in the app or Play Store, so both Apple and Android. Every week, you'll receive the weekly message from NSATs. You can have quick access to our social media. There's also all of our calendar events in there, the bell schedule, and a quick link to athletics, which I'm told by many of our parents is their go-to to quickly get to our athletic website. And I'm going to hand it over to Principal Donnelly.
Okay, so we just wanted to leave you with some contacts. We've been trying to answer questions as they come in on the Q&A section of the chat or of the webinar. Mr. Marino, there are several technology-related questions for you waiting for you. But we did want to provide you with some contacts that may help you answer particular questions if we either didn't get to your question tonight or if you think of something after the webinar, or if you're watching this later as the recording. So these are sort of your go-to administrators for scheduling, special education questions, technology, transportation, or questions about new student orientation or new student procedures. In addition, you can always call the front desk and talk with Mrs. Kelly, and she'll be able to help you direct you to where you need to go if you're not sure who you need to talk to. We've also provided these contacts in our last Friday weekly message, and we can include them in this week's weekly message as well. So I think that's all we have for tonight. Panelists, was there anything that anybody needed to add that we didn't discuss yet? No? Mr. Marino, will we continue to answer questions on the question and answer if we have a few left that we haven't answered yet?
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Riccio, did you have something you wanted to add?
That's what I was just going to add. If we could just leave it open so that we can finish answering the questions that are coming in, that would be great. I do know that we are excited to have kids back on campus. If you were on our session last week, we had some pictures of our Freshmen Integration Academy that Dr. O'Toole ran through a grant, and it was fabulous to see them live in person, not looking like the Brady Bunch in some way. But I don't know, Dr. O'Toole, while we're answering questions, if you wanted to just review that a little bit.
Sure. We were awarded 3 grants, and one of them was for the summer. So what was very exciting about the summer is we haven't really had students here since we left an emergency remote back on March, I think 12th was the last day we had students here. So it was very exciting. And we were all out there greeting them 6 feet apart, of course, outside with masks on when they got off the buses and parents dropped them off. And it was about 26 students. We socially distanced the whole time. They were inside and outside. And basically they got a chance to get the mindset of sort of workforce preparation through technical education and agricultural education training. And we combined that with academics work so that they learned about Salem shipping, and they learned about engineering and physics as well. And each of the groups was on a team. Kids were on 5 to 6 student teams, and they had to build vessels that would carry cargo that was linked in some way to, we were studying Salem history, but it was linked as well to the physics of how much could you fit on a vessel that would float. And then on the so we designed it, we prototyped it, we tested it on a day. We were there remote some days and then live here on campus. And then on the last day, I know Dr. Riccio and Principal Donnelly and the assistant principals and everybody came down, and we watched the students sort of test out their vessels. And again, the vote was, we all voted, the administrators, and the vote was just by 1 point that one of the teams won. But it was very exciting to see the students standing in water with waders on and having the boats towed by Paul Crofts in his kayak on our campus pond. And the students really got into the mindset of design thinking, which is one of the things we want to do here at Essex Tech, is to get students through integration learning to think differently and connect their learning in ways that put their career technical education learning with their academic learning. So that was the goal. We did it. We're offering it again in this coming fall weekends, and we're offering it again around February vacation, sometime in the winter, and those announcements will go out. We had 197 parents, caregivers interested in sending their children. And so we know there's a tremendous amount of interest, and we're thinking about doing the same thing next summer as well and expanding it.
So we have a lot of questions, just so that people know, regarding sweatpants. And like Joel Spruant said, we do dress for success, and we would prefer no sweatpants in the academic area. There is absolutely no sweatpants in the shop area or stretch pants. That presents a significant safety hazard for people. For example, if you are in culinary arts and you're boiling water and you have Lycra stretch pants on, and by accident you drop that pot of boiling water, the heat actually stays in your leg and you get a worse burn. So we do prefer, we do follow OSHA guidelines. So it's really critical that they are dressed properly for their CTE or agricultural area, but in their academic area as well. You know, this is school. This is not pajama day, although we may have one pajama day a year as part of our homecoming week. It's not something that we promote. Shorts, they are in the handbook as far as length, and Mr. Spruance went over the length of that. I think there is a visual as well, Mr. Spruance, in the handbook of what that length is. It's really appropriate attire. So if you're going to work, what would you look like when you go to work? So for us, we look at a vocational agricultural school as if you're going to work or a place of employment, which should be taken seriously. Yeah, and a lot of people actually question, just I'm sure people are thinking about this. So we are a one-to-one device, which means that we'll be using obviously technology quite frequently. But as it relates to supplies, you know, typical supplies, but don't go crazy. I know Staples and Target and Walmart have those 1-cent deals, and I would wait until you come to school to look at what your teachers have already for supplies and what you need. So there is no real strict guideline for supplies. And then we're just going to answer some other questions. I don't know if somebody else wanted to look at any of the questions that possibly. COVID safety training, that's a very good question, actually. So the 10 days that our staff will be training over the next 10 days starting on Monday, they will also be learning how to trade. So they'll be learning our protocols as well. Students will receive it in orientation, as well as it will be done school-wide during the first couple of days of school. So learning how to properly, but you know, families, if you really want to start training them ahead of time, you know, give them the disinfectant cleaner, a roll of paper towels, and have them start cleaning your walls and the countertops. And by the time they come to us on the 16th, they'll have a pretty good idea of what it means to be clean and sanitary. But we will certainly be providing that opportunity, as well as masks. We cannot stress enough. You know, we have been following the research, much like many of you, and really the reduction in those cases are a direct result of the social distancing, good personal hygiene, and the wearing of a mask. So one question was about bandanas. So we're not using bandanas as a mask. Those will not be acceptable, but a mask that is comfortable for the student, but also is fitting to the student as well. So how is it going to be enforced? Well, we have our lovely assistant principals here, Ms. Skane and Mr. Spruance. However, we do look at this as a school-wide enforcement. So it's not just the 2 assistant principals, it's the teachers, it's the custodians, it's the bus drivers, it's the administrative team. It is each other. So hopefully as we train our students for the workforce, we train them to have difficult conversations and to take care of each other. And we really look at this as a health and safety consideration. And I think you've all heard Dr. Fauci and, you know, other experts, as well as Governor Baker, is that not wearing a mask is actually selfish to the person that's beside you. So it is an expectation for our students and our staff to wear that when in the building at all times. There are exceptions. Obviously, if there's a health consideration, you would want to contact Sandy Goldstein, and she will work with you for a 504 accommodation and look at alternative ways. If you're in your office, as you see, many of them are in their office alone. They can actually wear, or they don't have to wear a mask if they're alone in their office, but they have them right next to them so that when people come in or in close proximity, they're able to put that on very easily. Okay. If you have an Aspen account from another school district, you do not, that Aspen account does not transfer to our school. So every school has a different code that we transfer to. So we will provide you with that information as it relates to the Aspen accounts. And Joe, if you could just repeat when they'll be getting the Aspen accounts. I know that they come out in a email.
Yep, so our plan right now is to provide the caregiver Aspen accounts the same day as new student orientation on the 15th.
Okay, thank you. If there are specific technology questions, I do recommend that you reach out to our technology department. They are very good at answering, you know, the questions. I just don't want to answer them and give you the wrong answer, because Mr. Marino will not be very happy with me if I provide you with inaccurate information. So, but he is wonderful. He is, his whole department are able to get in touch with you as soon as possible. So any class schedule, we are not making class schedule changes at this time. As you can imagine, a master's schedule is very difficult to create, but then when you couple on that a hybrid learning model, where 50% of the students are out of the building, and then looking at the number of students in a social distancing perspective, so reducing the number of students in a classroom has increased the number of instructional staff members that we have needed to accommodate that schedule. So it really is like a jigsaw puzzle, like a 10,000 piece one, not the 500 piece that you do on a Sunday afternoon. And because of that, the shifts to the schedule is very difficult. So I understand that in incoming grade 9, we looked at a variety of different things to really assess where that child was, whether it was honors or college prep or advanced college prep. And we need to typically, even in a high school setting, when you have a shift, we try not to do any schedule changes anyway for the first 2 weeks of school. So that's where we're at right now. We believe that all kids can learn to high levels, regardless of what their learning styles are, much like Sue Stevens said. So we believe wholeheartedly that our kids can do that and can be successful, provided that the proper supports are in place. Sports, I know there are questions about sports. Last week, the state came out with some guidance on sports where fall sports can take place in a different setting other than football and cheerleading. It still presents some challenges for us. So there is a meeting with our conference assistant athletic directors, and our principals on Thursday to gather more information. You may have seen in the news that some school districts or some conferences are actually going to go to that later start in the school year for all of their fall athletics. So we're waiting to see. We're going to have to really decide as a conference. And so we'll be meeting with the conference on Thursday. So please hang tight just for a few more days so we can get the best information to be able to provide for you.
There's a question here about that it would be helpful to know which days ninth graders would be in school as opposed to remote. So in the weekly message that we sent out last Friday, the 21st, there was individual schedules for grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. So if you miss those calendars or schedules, you can go back and look at that email, and we'll include them in this week's email as well. And it's a color-coded schedule so that you know which days your student is on campus for academics, remote for academics, or on campus for CTE and remote for CTE. So we'll get those out again this week.
Okay. The next question is physical education. At this time, we are not having physical education classes due to the distancing challenges that we face, and that we will be utilizing our gymnasium for alternative space for mass breaks as well as lunch and breakfast. So we will be doing wellness though. So part of the grade 9 curriculum includes wellness. And so we will be having those classes. If a student is remote, so if a student has chosen the remote model until we go back to a different setting, we will be working on an orientation for those students. And I don't know if Ms. Skane has any more information on that, or we'll be sending out more information.
Yes, we were just talking about the fact that orientation will actually, many parts of it will be recorded, and we will be able to put that information out to students that are choosing remote. We can also send the packet that will be given to students through the US mail to anyone remote. And also to create a school ID, it would be helpful if a student who is opting for remote sends a picture of themselves, their face. So essentially what you can see in my Zoom box here, to me at jskane@essextech.net, and we can go ahead and upload that into our system and create an ID.
Okay. This does, so the question before was about Aspen and transferring your account. That also holds true to any account that we have from school to school. So for example, your school bucks account does not transfer. But I will say I would reach out to that school district if you did not get a refund and ask them for a refund. Typically, it's part of their kind of cleanup of the school year would be to issue that refund to you. So I would certainly reach out to them. Okay. And the metrics for returning to full or in person, that was a question. We're following, as you know, we have 17 sending communities and 38, I think at this time, surrounding communities across 3 counties. So we're checking those metrics daily. Very challenging, actually. So we are following the Commissioner Riley's guidance for those metrics for the hybrid model, and Peabody is the community that we're following, because what you're supposed to do, or what they're recommending, of course you don't have to, but what they're recommending is that you follow your largest sending communities metric. To go back into full session, I would love to say tomorrow, because I think we can all agree that we do want our normalcy back. You know, we have great facilities that when it's loaded with kids, it's very exciting. And so we have to wait until the governor guidance comes out and as he reopens the state. So we will continue to follow the governor's guidance on those metrics and what they believe will be. Shannon, do you know about soccer? So I guess there were soccer tryouts that were posted online, and I just want to make sure that that is okay.
Right. So there are no soccer tryouts at this time. I'm not sure why that was posted online, but there are no tryouts just yet. That's right, Mr. Spruance, right?
Yeah, we have some active senior leadership who took a screenshot of the tryout list in June, and then didn't look at any of the updated emails or websites. So
okay. So as soon as we know, Dr. Riccio already mentioned that we have a sports meeting with the league this Thursday, and so as soon as we know for sure what sports are going to look like, we will be sharing that information.
Okay. There is a question about the masks. So we are purchasing enough cloth masks to give 1 per student that can be washed. We will also have some disposable masks available. However, it is the responsibility of that student to have a mask with them. Often a mask is a personal care item that is required for health considerations. It is a governor mandate as well. So, you know, you are responsible for having and bringing a mask and caring for the mask. Now, if by chance a student, much like a staff member, tears the mask for some reason, or at lunchtime, I don't know, he throws it away in the barrel by accident, we will certainly provide that child, you know, with a replacement one for the day. Okay. Again, any technology questions would be best, because there was a lot of technology questions, and I know Mr. Marino is working as fast as he can to get them answered. So if you have further ones, just also please reach out. Okay, so let's see what else. I'm trying to just look
There's a
at.
question about mask breaks. I don't think we did this one yet.
Okay.
So We will be working in a mask break to each of the class periods in academics. So there are 5 academic periods per day. So there will be 5 mask breaks per day. One of those 5 will be lunch. And then during the CTE days, there'll be mask breaks during the CTE programs as well.
Okay, another question came up of, so what if a student has a medical challenge where they cannot or restrict themselves with a mask? So Sandy is the 504 coordinator. That would be a reasonable accommodation that we would make. And so if your child does not feel comfortable, obviously next to that person, we would make arrangements. There are obviously HIPAA considerations. So much like we would never call out a student who may be on an IEP, we would certainly not also call out on that student who may have an accommodation or a modification. But we will be working with those individual teachers that have the students in there on best how to address it, and obviously to make sure that the student is distanced appropriately from those other students. Okay, the question was to please repeat bandanas as a mask. Is it allowed or not? Bandanas are not allowed to wear as a mask. If there is a challenge for your son, just please reach out to us and we can come up with a different solution. We do have some face shields. So you want to work with Sandy Goldstein on that, or Sue Stevens.
So there's another question about, will students have time outdoors? So we're hoping to have the mask breaks during the academic classes outside when the weather permits. Obviously, we need to have a backup plan if it's not good weather or as the weather gets colder. And during CTE, many of our programs spend a good deal of time outside. So yes, they will have some time outdoors. There's another question about gaiters as a mask. So gaiters are permitted as a mask. In fact, many of our construction programs will use gaiters as they may be safer outside when working with equipment. So gaiters are permitted as a mask.
And we are looking, I understand that there is some research that came out regarding the gaiters last week. We are looking at different materials that there was a blow test that came out as far as kind of blowing air through the gaiter. And so we are looking at different types of materials for those gaiters that we can purchase.
And there's another question about mask breaks. Mask breaks will be, as I mentioned, they'll be held outside if possible. And if they're not able to go outside, they will be held in an area where students are able to spread out, such as the gymnasium or the media center, some of our larger spaces, so that students can spread out, make sure they're properly social distanced before they have the mask break.
So the question is if PBD goes in red. Well, we are waiting for guidance from the state based on the actual number of students that we have on a given day, you know, from that particular community. As you know, even the metrics that are being sent are sometimes skewed. There was one community just this past week that went from red to white to yellow, back to green, all within 24 hours. So as you can imagine, the metrics, and that was due to many false positives, I believe. So as they adjust the data, it can actually change very quickly. I actually have a meeting, or myself and the other superintendents have a meeting with the commissioner tomorrow, because where that guidance just came out We are waiting to see because we have approximately 300 students from Peabody, but we also have, another 1,100 or 1,200 students from many other communities. We will not restrict a student who is in the red. If their particular community is in the red, we will not restrict a child from coming onto the school. We are a public school. And just as many doctors and researchers and Dr. Fauci it's about good personal hygiene, social distancing, and wearing your mask.
There's a few questions that are related to lunch, so I can try to take these. I think there are 3 at this point. So in terms of social distancing at lunch, we have set up, we have 3 cafeterias in our building, and we are also going to use our gymnasium for lunch this year. And so we've been able to set up those areas with individual tables. So we took out our large cafeteria tables because they took up a lot of space and didn't accommodate many students due to the social distancing. So we have either individual tablet desks, or we have larger science lab tables that we have moved into those areas, and they are 6 feet apart. In addition, students will be assigned to a cafeteria and to a seat, so that we're able to know where students are seated during lunchtime. There is, and students will receive the lunch schedule in their orientation packets, so they know which lunch to take and when. In addition, there was a question about, will students be permitted to eat outside the building during lunch? There is a small patio area outside of our main cafeteria that will allow for some students, but it's not a very big area, particularly now that they need to be 6 feet apart. So we have not yet determined yet if we are going to be using that area.
Okay, there was a question about restroom breaks or restrooms in general, and we have an application called Smart Pass, and the application allows us, the 2 assistant principals are going to be loading all of the bathroom numbers into our system for Smart Pass, and the student would create a pass online, and they would be restricted to that bathroom closest to them. And there's signage that will say 2-person maximum in the restrooms, as well as other confined areas like an elevator. And then if there's too many individuals that are in that restroom at that given time, meaning on the pass, it will restrict them from actually using that restroom. Yes, a student can carry a water bottle with them. The question was, can students carry a water bottle with them? We are shutting off, however, all of our kind of traditional bubblers. We do have some, and we're starting to replace them, of the bottle fillers. So the bottle fillers will stay on while the bubbler part stays off. Okay, so Judith Ryan, who is the nurse for the Department of Health in Danvers, did a presentation last week. And so I'm hoping that Sandy could just respond, or Miss Goldstein. Because of HIPAA, we can't obviously say, what program, we can't give identifying features of a child or a staff member that may have been diagnosed with COVID. But we will be sending out, obviously, information.
Yes.
Sandy,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
we continue to work very closely with Judith. She is our point of contact, and she is a point of contact for Danvers residents. She reminds everyone to stay up to date with your local city or town website as far as information regarding COVID and protocols that are being released by the state, not only for school-based interventions and communications, but for any of us as residents. We will continue to follow the guidance of DESE and the CDC, but specifically in consultation with Judith regarding if knock on wood, but if that happens, a student or a staff person may need to be screened or tested, and then what proper notifications we would need to make. For those of you who have been parents and caregivers with us already, we pride ourselves on good communication. And please be assured that as much as we can share information, we will share information, but at all times we are going to be incredibly discreet as it relates to a student or adult in our community that may be ill. But please do be assured that whatever information we can share, we will be sharing with you.
Thank you. The question is, if seats are going to be assigned, lunch tables are all facing forward, and time in halls is limited, how do they make friends? Believe me, they'll make friends. If there was any indication last week in the freshman selection academy, the Integration Academy, I believe that they were still able to make new friends. These are done as temporary challenges, I think, to everyday life that are necessary. The safety precautions and considerations that we have put in are necessary. But we do believe that they will still be able to make friends, particularly in their CTE or technical areas. They often are able to, engage and talk to each other. The question is about the taking the temperature of students. It was not recommended for us to take the temperatures of students. Certainly, we would leave that up to the families that if your child has a temperature, they would stay home. Or if they're sick in any way, we would want them to stay home. And that is why the state changed the attendance policy and restrictions, which we then subsequently did as well. And so at this time, of course, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, because maybe in 2 weeks, new guidance comes out that says otherwise. But at this time, there will be no temperature checks of students. I will say that last week there was a question about flu shots. So our staff members we do have a flu clinic anyway. Every year we have a flu clinic for our staff members, and that will occur. We are looking into a free flu clinic for our students. So we're working with CVS on that. So we will have more information to follow. As you know, Commissioner Riley changed the guidance related to the flu shots as a requirement, and therefore we're trying to obviously help families and parents out. That requirement takes effect in December. The mask breaks are a few minutes because of time on learning considerations. We do have to limit the mask breaks that we have, but we will be offering different mask breaks throughout the day. And then obviously during their lunchtime, they will have mask breaks. Jill, Ms. Sawyer, you were on the committee for the student reopening. Could you possibly go over information at lunchtime and how those students will be labeled, how the tables will be labeled?
Sure. So what we're doing right now is we're working at the schedule. And as you know, we have 3 eating areas, as well as we've added our gymnasium. We've added desks and tables in there for students to eat. So there's 3 lunches. Lunches during C block. So during whatever the student has during C block, whether it's their CTE week or an academic class, they'll be assigned to a designated cafeteria based on the location of their classroom or shop. So we are still working through that. So it will be with the students that are in their C block class. And I saw another question about if there's concerns around needing accommodations or a small eating area, and we'll certainly accommodate that. I would suggest reaching out to Sue Stevens if that is a concern for the lunch, but we are still working it out. But if students, once they get their schedules, they'll see their C block class, and that's the students they'll be having lunch with.
There was a question, there were a couple of questions about summer reading. So we chose 2 books. The first book was Make Your Bed. I actually had it on the kitchen counter today. It's one of my favorite books. If you have not read that book, It's a quick, easy read. There is a video, a 25-minute video. Don't tell the kids that, but there's a 25-minute YouTube video that obviously goes through this. And it's really about life lessons. And the reason why we picked this book is that we picked it for grade 11 and 12 students last year during COVID, because we felt like they were going out either getting ready for co-op or they were getting ready for the world. And we felt that it was a really great book on perseverance, on never giving up, on taking care of each other. So when somebody's down, you don't keep them down, you actually reach your hand down to go pick them up. And so that book was very important to us as we read it. The kids didn't really like us for giving them a book read, an impromptu book read in April, but after it, it really became, it was very poignant in many of their lives. So we decided to do the grade 9, 10, and 11 read as a school-wide read. And then in grade 12, I don't know, Dr. O'Toole, if you want to talk about the grade 12 read.
Sure. So because the 11th graders now and going into 12th grade and have read the McRaven book, we went with Tuesdays with Maury, which again is a sort of a professor talking to his former student and at Brandeis, and actually talking about sort of wisdom and life lessons and things like that. So we thought, again, it was sort of appropriate for sort of someone giving us life's experiences and wisdom. And so it was a corollary to the McRaven book. And then the other requirement for summer reading is that students also choose another book that, again, is supposed to be sort of, age appropriate and grade appropriate. And again, our librarian, Tammy Guerin, and other people you can reach out to. I know we're getting late in the process, but basically that second book also needs to be read. So when they get to school, they'll be asked to do something about it in their English class.
Okay, Joe Marino, could you just quickly answer how the school lunches, because I know we talked about having the app where they can pre-order their lunch if they're having a lunch.
Sure. So Heartland School Solutions, who also does My School Bucks and does our POS at the registers, is going to make an app available in mid-September. Should be right in time when we come back, so that parents will be able to order lunches through the app for the student. We don't, unfortunately, have a ton of details at this time about the app specifically, but I can tell you if the app is not ready in time, we will be ready with a backup solution such as a Google form that students may be filling out every morning. And on that form, they'll be able to select what they want, a hot, cold option, as well as any dietary restrictions.
I think we may have answered, is the school peanut free? That's a good question. We are not peanut free. We do have obviously students that have peanut and nut allergies. And so we use that through our nurse's office and make sure that they have their EpiPen with them. We do believe that being in high school, they're going to be working towards an adult life. And unfortunately for them with a serious nut allergy, we want to make sure that they're also prepared to be in certain situations where they can ask and advocate for themselves to make sure that they are safe. The lunch menu is posted, and I believe it is actually on our website with a link. And we're going to be working on, since we are going to have that pre-order option, we'll have it more readily available for everyone, quite possibly putting it in our weekly email. So Miss Donnelly does a fabulous family weekly email during the school year, with a variety of helpful hints and links. So we can quite possibly have our food service director provide a link for us to be able to do that. So the question is, are there gluten-free options for celiacs? Yes, there is. We are we have a phenomenal food service director. In fact, one of, or our chef in the food service department is a retired chef. And so Grace Clark will make anything for any child at any given time. You just have to ask, you know, if there's a specific menu option item that they prefer, just please let us know, and we will provide that. We actually have what we call it a foodies team, and it's the FIT team. And so it's a group of students, myself, Miss Donnelly, culinary arts teacher, as well as Grace Clark, and we go through different menu options. We also have a suggestion box in each of the cafeterias, and maybe we'll put that online this year just to avoid, you know, the situation of distancing. But we do take recommendations, you know, so we try to make it as kid-friendly as possible, following the nutritional guidelines that we have as well. Actually, this is a good question. Can you use the lockers? So we are not using lockers this school year, as you know, for obvious reasons. All of our lockers primarily are in the hallway area. And so you would have the child carry their bag with them, which includes their lunch. So I don't know if you can get an insulated bag. They sell them, I know at like TJ Maxx or Walmart. And so that would be my recommendation. Also, there are some lockers in the shops that are going to be needed. So if you're an incoming, I don't think there are any, but for example, if you're in cosmetology, they have very large bags that they come to school with, and it has their whole kit. And so they're given individual lockers that they keep in their shop. And so those types of lockers would be used once that student is placed in that program area, but traditional lockers that are in hallways will not be used at this time. Joe Marino, can you just answer the question about school bucks and how they get their username and account set up?
Yes. So in order to register for My School Bucks, you do need your student's ID number, and that will be available in your orientation packet and in Aspen.
Okay. Great. I think that may be it. Just, I know that there are a couple of questions about COVID, and I understand that Sandy Goldstein, myself, already answered them, but they are in our reopening plan as well, and there is guidance on there. So it would be good. I'm a paper person still, so I actually have a binder in addition to the online version of the plan with all of the documents, so I can get it readily and easily. So some of the information in the reopening plan is actually a link to a document. So I would please become familiar with that. And we do change that as other things change. So if the governor or commissioner or the CDC come out with new guidance, we do update that. Another question came up with books and taking them back and forth to school, because we are a one-to-one device school. We have a lot of our textbooks, and Tom can answer this question, but our philosophy is that we have made a significant amount of investment in software and technology. So most of their assessments will actually be online, whether it's a benchmark assessment, a pre-assessment, a post-assessment, or a quarterly assessment. And I'll let Tom talk about the textbooks.
Right. So first of all, the trade book in English class, otherwise known as paperback, is a book that they will be given in class. They will take back and forth and read it, and then turn them in, and then work on another one. So there'll be those books they'll be given and taken back and forth and signing in and out at the beginning of the unit and then at the end of the unit. For e-textbooks, we have Hace Se Dice, which is a Spanish e-textbook that students will be using in class. Again, that's logged in and accessed through the Chromebook and through whatever URL you're using. And then also the same with the math textbook as well is going to be for 9, 11, and 10. So 9, 10, and 11, that's going to be an e-textbook. Science has materials that are electronic that they will be using with teachers. We're now 6 years open. They've got these materials ready to use with students, and history the same. So we're sort of moving away from textbooks, e-textbooks in those two classes, but teachers have developed now, after being 6 years open, this will be our 7th year, they've got the materials that they want students to read and access. A lot of it's in the public domain, and so students will be reading and accessing information that way.
Thank you. Do students have a school buddy that they get assigned to assist them? And I don't know if Miss Donnelly or Miss Goldstein would like to talk about our mentoring program a little bit.
There are, we do have a student mentoring program where we have, I believe, about 60 student mentors, and they are assigned to students in groups. So there's not a particular, one-to-one student, but certainly the new students will meet mentors during orientation and sort of have a friendly face to look for in the hallways. Often the first few days of school for freshmen, we ask our student mentors to wear their student mentor t-shirts so that they're easily recognizable to an underclassman who may need assistance. So in that way, they sort of have a system of buddies that can help them if they need it.
Okay. All right, so looks like our questions are complete. If you believe that we have not answered them kind of to your satisfaction, or maybe we weren't clear in the response, if you could just email us with those questions, okay? We do have a specific email regarding reopening, which is reopening@essextech.net. And we certainly welcome questions there, or any other individual on our team can get those answers for you. I will say we are so excited, to have you all here, for you to trust us with your children as we train them for the future. We will not disappoint you. I will say we have a great team here, regardless of what their title is. It is a team. We work hard for you and for your students. The support is there to make them successful. And I'm going to say there's no better education than vocational and agricultural. So with that, we thank you. We hope you have an awesome rest of your week. And we will see your kids on the 15th at orientation. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yay.